Joining me now, Florida Congressman Gimenez. He's a member of the Homeland Security and Transportation and Infrastructure Committees. Congressman, good morning to you and great to see you. You recently met with border officials in the Florida Keys area where you personally saw migrants crossing, something that the White House is saying isn't happening. They're saying, no, they don't walk across. And there you have that gentleman essentially saying, yeah, when there are no consequences, they come across. That's what happens if you don't close the border. Tell me more.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. We had a 400% increase now in maritime crossings from Cuba and Haiti especially. And so we've had 3,000 encounters here in South Florida and the Florida Keys that we know of. There's been 5,000 interdictions this last year, again, a 400% increase. Look, two years ago, there was only 50 interdictions at sea. And what does that mean? It means that there's probably hundreds of people that are dying, migrants trying to make a treacherous journey through the Florida Straits in really homemade craft, and we don't even know what happens to them. And so we know there's 3,000 that we encountered. We don't know how many other thousands we haven't encountered, and we know we stopped about 5,000 on their way over. That's all because of Joe Biden's policy, which says, come on over. If you make it, you get to stay here. The same thing that's happening in our southern border. We just something completely out of control. So it's out of control there. It's out of control over here in South Florida, too.
And as they say, every state has become a border state now. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says over 80 suspects on the terror watch list have been stopped at the border since Biden took office. That number continues to rise. Your thoughts on the fact that we're letting people on a terror watch list into this country?
Well, I mean, we're letting them in, but also how many of them we're not even knowing that they're getting in? Because, look, when I was at the southern border about a month ago, when we asked, they have 500,000 people that they know they crossed the border that were not encountered. We got about 2 million people that we know that we encountered. 500,000 people that we know were not encountered. We don't know who they are. And there's another at least 500,000 people that are crossing the border we don't even know across the border.
Yeah.
There's 1 million people that we don't know anything about. How many of those people are on the terrorist watch list? How many of those people really are up to no good here in the United States? And I'm not saying that the majority are, but you know that when you have 1 million people, you certainly have a whole bunch that are up to no good and a bunch that are also on the terrorist watch list.
Yeah, yesterday, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre responding after Florida Republican office was vandalized with the same fascist comment that Biden made last week. Listen to this.
So look, the president has always been clear that violence, vandalism, threats have no place in our society. He has denounced violence against women seeking reproductive medical care and vandalism targeted at those who oppose reproductive rights, right? So he has been very consistent here, and we're just going to continue to condemn any type of violence. It is not appropriate in any political debate.
I want to get your reaction there.
Well, look, anything that the president says, just flip it on its head, because that's what he's really talking about. So whenever he's accusing the opposition of violence, really, it's really what he's talking about is what's happening on his side. Whenever he tells you that the border is under control, you know the border is not under control. Whenever he tells you that he's got an anti-inflation bill, you know it's a pro-inflation bill.
Right.
So anything that this president says is completely opposite to what really he means. Never listen to Joe Biden. Actually watch what he does. That's much more important than what he says. So I don't believe the president whenever he speaks.
I always say actions speak louder than words for everybody, including
Absolutely.
the commander-in-chief. Congressman, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.